Ghana Revenue Authority justifies tax on ride-hailing vehicles, insisting it is part of measures to widen the tax net.
I think that sometimes people should understand because it's the same people who say widen the net, widen the net. And like we started, you said we are focusing on the same people all the time and we are creating fatigue.
Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority phases out manual registration of cars and other related services. Plus, today on the Joy Business Van, we'll tell you about the crew who have the platform that helps shoppers fish out the best offers online. We've got details of these and many others coming your way all in a moment. Please stay. Thanks very much for your time. I am Pius Kojo Baka. To our very first story, the Ghana Revenue Authority has justified taxes on ride-hailing vehicles, insisting it is part of measures to widen the tax net. The authority in a statement this week announced that owners of ride-hailing cars will be required to pay vehicle income tax from January 1, 2024. Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Reverend Dr. Amisha Daiwo, explained that the policy is also targeted at persons operating in the e-commerce space. He's been speaking on PM Express Business Edition, which airs tomorrow at 9 p.m. on this channel.
I think that sometimes people should understand because it's the same people who say widen the net, widen the net. And like we started, you said we are focusing on the same people all the time and we are creating fatigue. And then when we are trying to widen the net today, say, why are you going to this area? Why are you going to this area?
Because people are worried about the impact on the cost of living because these firms would definitely pass on these costs to them. If without them, and you might be hitting your target, maybe let's excuse them.
So then where is the widening the net? So I think that is people should, and sometimes when they say these things, they said in 2 years, in Abbey, come out some sort of thing. It's important that we deepen and widen the net. And if there are some industry players, some sectors that are not in, it's important that we keep on looking at it. Because if there is somebody doing a business and that business is not on, for example, we talked about, in fact, one of the things that we put in our strategy is the emerging business lines and bringing those emerging business lines into the tax bracket. And when I say emerging business lines, these the ride-hailing apps is one example. The other apps that people use to buy things is one example. And I can tell you that since last year we implemented the what do you call it, e-commerce registration. We have seen a lot of revenue coming from that point.
How much has it brought in? Not specific, but just the range, maybe not specific.
In fact, we're getting roughly about 800 something million as at the end of it. We just have to check.
Okay, all right.
But it has been significant, almost getting to $1 billion from that sector. I mentioned it at the last one of the events that I mentioned the figure. But the important thing is the fact that these are all business lines that are coming up. And sometimes the structure of the company is that you see those things. I heard you enjoy from you say you are doing a program on the, is it betting? Or there's something I heard
group about people,
about the fact that we are becoming so you are trying to look at that sector because you've seen that
you've already started applying some taxes in that area. Of course.
So that's what I'm saying. That so as the economy is dynamic and we see these changes coming, if you don't also become dynamic and open your eyes, when I say open your eyes, focus and build, so we'll not be able to live. So we want Ghanaians to understand that we have heard their cry for us to widen the tax net. So we are looking at the people who are not already in. So when we are bringing them in, they should appreciate it and clap for us for bringing them in, rather than saying, why are you bringing this one?
I think that
for example, the electricians, masons, artisans and those things, they are not in. When I say they are not in, I mean as the way you want it.
You cannot capture their work to tax them, this informal sector.
Yes, and we
Reverend Dr. Amisha Daiwusu, and in that interaction with my colleague George Yafe on PM Express Business Edition, which is on Thursday. To make a date. Now, let's stay a while longer in the space because the Driver and Vehicle Licensing Authority has phased out manual registration of vehicles and other related services. The authority in a statement explained that this is part of the goal of eliminating theft and false representation through digital services. The DVLA also announced that henceforth it will only accept Ghana card as the only identity verification for all its services. The statement said this is necessary to enhance security, ensure traceability, accountability, and most importantly, improve customer experience to drive productivity. Let's have a discussion at the back of this as we've been joined by a transport consultant, Cecil Gabra. Thanks so much, sir, for joining me on Business Live. Do you think that finally this phasing out of the manual system will improve issues of middlemen, popularly called grow boys, from the DVLA premises?
Well, thank you very much, too, for having me. Let us all agree that the Ghana card is a center of digitalization, and it is a way forward to curb corruption, which is an encounter. You know, I always say corruption is cancerous. If you don't start stopping it and it spreads, we will be in trouble. So I'll say kudos to DVLA. This is a step towards ending the issue of fake documentation at DVLA. Let me just give you an example. 6 months ago, we sold our car, which was an Elantra. And we negotiated quite well, received the money. Although it was cash, we had to provide security and so on because we didn't trust the system. Right. You will not believe it that the gentleman that we sold the car to did not present the forms that we signed for him to do the change of ownership, but then he rather sold the car to another person. And then somewhere around town, we stopped this car and then found out the lady was driving. You will not believe it that the document that the lady had was fully in the lady's name. So which means that there was some forgery somewhere along the line. So if the Ghana card is coming in right from this January 1st, I believe that it is the possible way to curb this issue. But mind you, I only say that we only pray that there must be further underground checks with the system, because I know the Guru boys, they are so sharp, very intelligent people, okay, who will go to another step and make sure that their documents are intact, even more than DVLA. Believe in me that they are smart people. All what they want to have is a share of the monies that you would be taking to DVLA to do this documentation. So if DVLA would block it, that is fine. So I would say kudos to my very good friend, Mr. Buzia, for this bold initiative. But again, there should be more to it. What about the other regions? Because people find it much more easier to travel to Winneba, to Tema, and so on to get their documents done. But if the digitalization will be extended to all the regions, I am very sure, equally sure, that we will save a lot of monies that are being leaked to these Guru boys. It is a fact. And we need to all work together to curb this issue of leakage.
Talking about the importance of this digitalization, of course, decentralizing it to the various regions, do you again think that this system cannot be manipulated by some workers of the DVLA themselves, where some aspects of the processes can be delayed just to frustrate the public, really? Well,
I always say in Fanti that if you be a Mesa, you will have not 100% of the staff of DVLA supporting this, because if they find out that there's a loophole somewhere there and they can make money, obviously they will leak it out to the Guru boys and then share whatever proceeds that they have. But I am saying that it shouldn't end there. I know the young guys that Mr. Buzia is working with, very intelligent guys, right? They must set up a consortium if possible, not registered as limited liability company, but then just working under DVLA to find out a lot more that goes on under this Goroism. That's let me put it that way. So that they will find out that, hey, they are at this step, let us move. They shouldn't sleep, because when they sleep, because as I'm talking now, I know I can get a driving license for you, okay, without maybe going to DVLA or getting somebody to sit and write your exams for you, right? There are loopholes in the system, and if these guys will get the loopholes, of course, all what they need is money in their pocket by teaming up with these Goro boys. So don't sleep, Mr. Buzia. Get the guys to work ahead of the Goro boys. If possible, do an implant amongst them, and then you will get the solution. After all, what are we looking at? We are looking at you walking to DVLA, saying, I've sold my vehicle, and therefore this is a document, and this is my Ghana card, and I have to change it. Notwithstanding this, if you will allow me, I also talk about the issue of the DVDP plates. I mean, if there's time. But then for now, this is what I know DVLA has done, and I will praise them for that.
Let's talk about revenue. Do you think the view, or do you hold the view that this should automatically increase the income the DVLA brings to the state due to transparency and accountability you mentioned?
Well, I will say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that you are going to pay the original fee that DVLA has set up. I mean, if it is even the manual, but then it will cap the issue of making other people rich, such as this Goro people as well as the DVLA officials. People must be paid for their services of which they have provided as government officials working for DVLA.
For the public, phasing out of this manual system should mean minimum time for getting DVLA registration completed in no time. Again, do you think this system will guarantee that from where you sit?
Well, of course, as at today, if you are going to renew your driving license, it takes you not less than 20 minutes. You are out of there, okay? Because the system is good, and we have tried and tested it. It's a step towards the right direction. So if it's your vehicle, I do believe that it will not waste a lot of time. And then people must have that trust and then go to DVLA directly than relying on other people such as the Goro boys to work for them.
Cecil Gabriel, we are indeed grateful for your time here on Business Live. He is a transport consultant speaking to us there. Let's switch topics to some other stories. And UK-based Fitch Solutions is anticipating that Ghana will reach an agreement with its bilateral creditors in early 2024. It is also projecting that a deal with commercial creditors will be reached by mid-2024. This, it believes, will improve investor sentiment towards Ghanaian assets, improve capital inflows, and provide support to the cedi. We've got more for you in this report.
A net country risk report on Ghana has said the government will make progress regarding the restructuring of Ghana's external debt under the G20 Common Framework in the coming quarters. Indeed, we expect that the authorities will make progress regarding the restructuring of Ghana's external debt under the G20 Common Framework in the coming quarters. The UK-based firm said its current projections are predicated on the assumption that the Ghanaian authorities and external creditors will be able to finalize debt restructuring negotiations by mid-2024. Should this process take longer than currently anticipated, Fitch Solutions said investor confidence towards Ghanaian assets would weaken. Thus, its stress would result in a renewed sell of the cedi, which would lead to stronger imported price pressures. In this scenario, domestic demand would remain weaker than our baseline forecast assumes, it's added.
Now, the World Bank says it has advanced $1.6 billion to Ghana over the last 4 years. These funds covered some projects in the budget as well as other initiatives aimed at reducing poverty and supporting the economy. Outgoing country director for the World Bank, Frank Pierre-Laporte, tells Joy Business he is glad by the impact of these initiatives on the livelihood of Ghanaians.
Joy, yeah, you said it's been four very interesting years, as I said in my remarks last week with government, in the government farewell. The time that I was here coincided with some unprecedented occurrences. The world has seen many crises over time. In the last 4 years, as we all know, COVID-19 was something the world has not seen for centuries, probably since the time of the famous plagues in Europe. It's the first time that the world was shaken by a kind of crisis. And as you know, immediately after, the war in Ukraine started, and the impact on the economy has been just huge. Again, when I came here in mid-2019, in early 2020, Ghana had actually seen Ghana's economy was in a very good shape. I mean, inflation was in single digits, growth, the economy was growing 6-7%. Debt was in the moderate, as we call it, moderate risk of distress. But unfortunately, largely because of this crisis, like everywhere else, the economy took a huge hit, and development after development, Ghana lost access to international markets, and this really, for me, was a very, very critical event, because at that time,
Now, the country recorded some marginal decline in earnings from exports in the third quarter of this year. Data from the Bank of Ghana puts the amount secured during that period at $3.7 billion. George Wiafe has the rest of the story.
The amount that the country got from July to September this year represents about a 10% decline compared to the over $4,000 it got for the same period last year. The development can be linked to declining prices of crude oil on the international market and the marginal decline in the volumes of gold exported by the country during that period. This is despite the fact that prices of gold on the international market was going up during the third quarter of this year. If the trend is sustained to the end of this year, that could impact negatively on the country's foreign exchange earnings going forward. But despite this challenge, the country ended the third quarter of this year with a trade surplus of $174 million. This is due to the fact that the amount of money that Ghana spent on exports went down by some 11.5% to reach $3.5 billion. However, some are worried that not all these earnings still find their way into Bank of Ghana's coffers, a move that could have gone a long way to improve the central bank's earnings to support the local currency.
This is still Business Live. We are pausing for a breather. We'll be right back with a Joy Business Van. And that's it for Business Live for today. I am Pius Kojo Baka. Let's connect same time tomorrow. Bye.